It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Everybody, and welcome to the penultimate round of PSGL Season 29, the F2 tier on the PlayStation platform. We head to the Baku City circuit for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. 10 drivers are still in the championship hunt, and we could crown a champion tonight, possibly. My name is Jess, and joining me, as always, we got Owen Wyatt. Owen, how are you doing?
Hello, Jess. Hello, viewers. And yes, we are in for another Baku Classic. I'm hoping tonight anything that could top last season would be fantastic. So, yeah. And there's obviously, as you say, the potential of a title being decided. So it should be a good night.
Yes, it should. And only in exceptional circumstances could the championship be decided tonight, because Gil's championship rivals need to not score in order for that to happen, and Gil needs to win the race and get fastest lap in order to seal it as well and seal his part of the deal. So it's going to be more than likely that the championship fight is going to be decided at the final race in Brazil, just like last time. Possibly less people involved in the championship fight, but it shows how close it's been again all season, with the championship leader being changed quite a lot, with the likes of Valters leading it. Obviously, Fabi led it a couple of weeks ago, and with Gil's amazing win last time out, he's now on top of the standings by one singular point. So, this should be quite interesting between Gil and Fabi, but don't count out Suko as well. Actually, it was Suko who won the race, I believe. Gil took third, but Suko, with his win, is now firmly in the fight, and he's going to need a miracle to possibly win it. But who says miracles can happen? We'll have to wait and see, shall we?
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, Baku is a track where you tend to get some upsets anyway, so yeah, anyone who's in this fight will be thinking about what sort of carnage can happen. And, yeah, we'll just see who can brave it the best. A few qual-ups have already started, and a few have already been invalidated. And there's actually a lot of places that you can get your lap wrong, so that's another thing that you want to be looking at tonight. Who can really get themselves round without having any incidents, without hitting the wall, without damaging their lap with invalidations. A lot to think about. But yes, we'll see how they'll go on. I think Gil is the first on a lap at the minute, as he starts the middle sector. Gil, who obviously is the driver who could take the title tonight, but it would need, as you say, some exceptional circumstances. Although in fairness, Fabi wipes himself out, that could just be enough. But let's not wish that on any drivers.
No. Let's hope not. We want the drivers to fight to the end and fight fairly, but this is a track which is quite narrow, and it is a street circuit. Street circuits always causes a bit of chaotic issues as well, as we've seen in the other tiers as well. Situated by the Caspian Sea on the main promenade. First used in Formula 1 2016 when it was the European Grand Prix, as Gil is about to finish his lap. A long straight here as well, coming up to the DRS zone as he's warming up his tyres a little bit as well. So could Gil be the first man to set a very good lap time, or he's going to be the first man to set a lap? It's going to be a 1:42.0, so the benchmark time, but I'm sure these guys can go way quicker at the moment, as Suko tops by quite some margin, 1:38. So that's what we're probably expecting at these early stages, because this all goes even quicker 1:38.006. We got Shazoo 1-2 at the minute, and Seiko, it's good that he's ahead of Gil right now, because that, I think, is what he needs to stay in his championship fight. As long as you're 17 points or less behind the championship leader after tonight, you'll still be in the fight coming to Brazil next week. So I think Seiko will need to outscore Gil in order to do that. But it is possible.
Yep, we've just seen Valentin there go up into second place. Of course, we're still waiting for him to get his first points of the season. And I know we have to keep Brendan every week, because the week he finally does get those points, it'll be amazing. Looks like Gil as well has actually gone for a second attempt. So we'll see if the second lap on a tyre is any good around here. I'd be surprised if the softs could do it, if I'm honest with you, because there would be some little bit of a drop off as Hadler goes fastest. Gil is up, but he'd need to make another 8 tenths in the last sector to challenge for P1. Perhaps he could do that though. He was seemingly cruising around on the last attempt, and he is a lot lower on fuel, so it should be quicker on that main straight than he was last time. But yeah, let's see. Fabi sits in P5 as well, so he'll be looking to have better luck on his second try. But here's Gil, and he is ahead of Fabi in 5th position.
I think Gil definitely needed that as well, because the point gap is so close as well. We've still got a few drivers to set their laps. Dino is in for Ash Best tonight in the McLaren, as it's his debut in PSGL, so we want to see what he could do, but he's not got his debut off to a great start as he is invalidated. Same with Cohen as well, but I think he'll probably do the same as Gil, go on another lap, and I think I'm just seeing if anyone is on a push lap. I doubt it at the moment, so that is it then for our first laps of qualifying. Still a long way to go for some of these drivers, especially the Alfa Romeos, and especially Baraka as well, as Baraka's slowing down. I think Rizzo could be on a push lap unless he's going into the pits. Nope, he's on a push lap, and it is going to be a 1:38.389, puts him in P8 for now, so currently sitting inside the top 10. Yannick is going out on a lap now as he's through sector 1 now and about to start sector 2. He's filling in for one of the Mercedes, as both Mercedes are not here tonight. So we've got Yannick and Azzy being the replacements tonight, but that means no constructors' points will be scored for Mercedes, and that's still also, I believe, to be decided, the constructors' title. So I wonder if some people will do the double there, but Yannick just goes into this back straight. And now these drivers have been warned. The track limits on turn 15, they are keeping an eye on the stewards. So if you do extend in turn 15 today, you will get in a lot of trouble and you will get penalised according to the stewards. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. The stewards will be keeping an eye on it, and I'm sure other drivers will too.
I find that interesting that they're looking at that type of thing here and not everywhere else. Because there's been a lot of tracks this season where you could cheat your way off the track and keep the lap going, but USA, I remember, was quite a big one. Bahrain as well, as Yannick crosses the line, goes P9. So yeah, I find it interesting that they've taken till now to finally decide they're gonna crack down on it, but it's good to see, I suppose, and it keeps the session a bit more fair for other drivers who may not be aware that you can do certain things on certain corners. But yeah. That's what the stewards have decided. As CC Brain sets his first time, I think the only other person really on the lap now must be Asi down in P18.
Only 3 drivers yet to set a lap time, as he's one of them, and he is actually not backed out and hasn't invalidated so far. And I think it just goes to show for some of the tiers that we've seen earlier on this week, if you do finish this race, you're more than likely going to get a good result, even if it's just close enough to not get any points, but maybe get into the top 12, top 13, I should say, as well. But I'm sure that these drivers know what they're doing. They're in a tier where they have been practicing quite a lot, and they are almost the creme de la creme. They want to get into F1 next season. These final 2 races will help really pretty much decide for them who's going to get into F2, F1, whatever, or will they get demoted, we'll see as he comes across the line. A respectable lap time for the Mercedes driver for tonight, P5, and we got, it's CC Brain. CC Brain was on a lap, I think Recon's on a lap as well. And I think that is it for the time being. But Cohen and Dino, the only drivers yet to set a lap time, they're going about to start their laps as well. And we'll see them climb their way up the order. But still lots of time to be found. And it's important to get their laps in nice and early. Because like you said, with this track being so punishing, there could be someone binning it, which could ruin your laps and get possibly block the track, and you can't move out of the way and stuff like that. So get your lap times set now, and you're more than likely going to be qualifying high for the race.
So Recon is heading for the middle sector. He's, I suppose you could argue, underperforming so far in the qualifying session, so he'll be looking at sort of getting a bit higher up. He was already finding 3/10 in the first sector, so let's see if he keeps it up in the middle sector. Up by a second now, so that'll be breaking towards that top 10. He'll be trying, I suppose, to help his teammate out in the best way possible, because he's a bit lower in the championship. He's not really in the fight at all. But if he can support his teammates in whatever he's trying to do, sitting effectively third in the championship, in the Alpines they could work together tonight. And on a track as chaotic as this, that could be so vital to have both cars up there. So let's see where Recon goes. Only goes P13. So I think Suka will be hoping he can get himself a bit higher up than that, because the teamwork is so vital, I think, tonight.
Yes, but they can't do work together in qualifying because slipstreaming is banned, just like it's been for the past few seasons, but they can work together in the race. And hopefully the double stacking is a lot better tonight, because there was a new patch that was released today where the pit lane loss has improved in terms of teammates. So you will lose less time if you get a double stack, which is good news. But hopefully we get to see the full effects of that tonight. Double stacking still doesn't work fully on the game, but at least they'll lose less time going into the pits now, which is great to see. And good news if you are in the Alpines trying to close up the order. Valentin, the provisional poleman at the moment, 1:37.799. Only 3 drivers in the 1:37s currently. Is Cohen going to finish a lap? He's the only one yet to set a lap time thus far. And he's going on at this long straight now. Full power, almost at 200 miles per hour. And he's going to be seeing then if he could get inside the top 10. He's won a few races this season. He's looking to add to another one. He's had some bad luck in the last few races. Hopefully this race will be turned around for him. 14th place for him, 1:38.7. Just a few 100s quicker than Recon down in P15, and just 1/10 slower than Suka. Is quick actually, yes he is, as he's going through, and he does go fastest. 1:37.718 in the Alpine. He's looking himself to secure a third win of the season, his second win in a row, as Suko is performing well so far, but Valentin close behind. Is anyone else on that? I think most people could be slowing down. Baraka, I believe, was on the lap, but he's invalidated, so not good for the Alfa Romeo driver. He needs a miracle to stay in the championship fight. He needs a lot of people to bin it in front of him, but he's got a lot of work to do, Baraka. I think there was a few races, I was speaking to him, and I think there was a few races where he felt that his championship fight was already over, but there's still hope. There's still this race, and there's still next race. And if, obviously, Babi and Gil have bad races, Baraka could be back in it, and Suko could be back in it.
Well, this is it. One bad day for Gil, and it's everyone back in it, so that's... Yeah, Baraka does need to keep the hope alive, but he is leaving himself with a very difficult task, sitting at the back. He has got, though, the track to himself, but he hits the wall.
Oh.
So, yeah, he just doesn't seem to have the groove around here. He gets his line all wrong up the hill as well. That probably won't be a time that'll challenge the leaders. So that's the problem that he has around here at the minute. And obviously we know Alfa Romeo haven't had a great history here, well, based on last season only. But you know, still not a good visit last time. And yeah, 8/10 up. That's only going to gain him 1 position right now, Baraka, and that simply won't help him. That Mercedes behind of Yannick might pick up a bit of a distant toe. He's not improving massively so far on the lap. If actually he's not improving at all. But could nick a toe and possibly move up, or is he going to pit?
He's pit him.
Right, so as he's out there, but that looks like it's a slow first sector. But he hasn't really got time to bail out of it now, has he? So he's got to just sort of stick to it and maybe just take a second lap with this sort of time left in the session. So that's the sort of danger, I guess, of going off sequence, because now when he tries his next lap, if this one doesn't go to plan, he'll be coming across all the traffic. But we'll see how it all goes. Gil and Fabi are right by each other, by the way, and they're on their out laps. They are two drivers we've got to be keeping our eyes on, because top two of the championship, 1 point between them. Like, it's a very vital situation right now. And Fabi, I wonder if he's thinking, could I grab a distant toe when I'm doing my lap here and gain half a tenth at the end of the lap? Oh, that's Azzy in the wall. So yeah, that's really not gone well then. Going early. It's actually ended his session. Was he pushing too hard with that last sector? Recon's about to start his lap, as are a few others. Jensen's already on his lap, so we'll follow him. He's the first one. Then Recon will be next, and then, well, I'll do my best to try and follow them all, because a lot of them are still actually in the pits. So there's a chance you'll see a few of these runs get abandoned halfway through. We tend to see it happen quite a lot, actually, in the last runs. They always do it just as an insurance run, more than anything. But Jensen, he is improving in the first sector, trying to break into the top 10. He knows his teammate sits pretty in second position, so he knows the pace is there. And you could argue that Jensen, well, he's been a better race driver of the Hasses at the minute, so if he has a good starting position, then he could be on for a nice result today. Yellows for a McLaren. That might well be, because the two McLarens are now right next to each other, so Fabi backed off instantly, and there's a lot of messing about going on in that first sector, so I can't imagine there'll be many good laps being set at the minute, just due to the traffic that those guys are facing, as Jensen does hit the wall, keeps the momentum though as he heads down the hill, and it's up now by 6 tenths, so that's now breaking in to potentially into the top 10. If Fabi can't get a lap in, well, that'll be knocking him down into 11th place. So that might be worth thinking about in terms of strategy. If he can't get the lap together, P11 might not be the worst place to start around here. But let's see Jensen as he comes up to the line. He's just about going to have enough ERS, and probably the last lap goes P6. So Gil is up in the first sector, so he is able to get a lap in. So that's interesting. So he's been able to get through all of that. Recon was out there as well. I'd mentioned him, but he's down, so he's struggled. His teammate is all sorts of traffic as well. He's going to have to find himself some room. He's obviously professional pole right now. But let's see how Gil gets on, because look at this slipstream that Yannick is giving him. This is going to be a major advantage, and it's going to drag him all the way down to turn 1, because Yannick can't just abandon this. He's got a lap to do, and Gil might just steal pole position because of this. He does. That is so crucial. And I tell you what, there'll be one or two people out there that'll be thinking, I cannot believe how lucky he has just gotten. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. As we see CC bring out a front wing, that'll be his session over. There's nothing wrong with what Gil's done there. He can't control who's in front of him. So that's, well, very lucky indeed. I wonder how that's going to affect these final runs. But let's see. Is Gil going again? I'd be very surprised if he's going again. He's not. I think Valentine's probably one of the first of the big runners out there. Oh, wow. Louis in the wall. That, I think, will have affected Hadler's lap, because he was going through that castle section. So that's not gone too well. And let's see. I think Valentine's on for a pole position here, you know. This is a quarter of a second clear in the middle sector. And Kazizel's now stacked it as well. I think it was actually Louis and Kazizel who have both stacked it in the castle section. Fabi's heading through that section now. Will that car be a distraction? Let's see. Checkered flag is out. Daniel doesn't improve. Ricky goes up to P13, and Valentine goes up into P1 by 1.5 tenths. That's good for him. Was Hadler affected by Louis in the wall? Let's see. As he comes up to the line himself, he does not improve. So perhaps he was affected. Yannick didn't get a lap in. Cohen is driving all over the place in that pit lane. That's not where you're meant to be. Very odd that. Reset is just behind his teammate Baraka. And Baraka has 1.5 seconds worth of improvement so far, and he breaks into just 15th. 2 McLarens up next. Fabi, only 11th, but like I said, that 11th place could be decent for strategy. Dino's gone up to P6, not a bad debut for him. Looks like Reese has gone into the top 3. Suko goes up into 2nd position, so Gil down into 3rd. So that's it then. Valentine on pole once again. We've seen this many times this season. Suko 2nd position, and Gil 3rd, but Fabi, who needs really to be finishing in the points, is sitting 11th, but with strategy pole effectively. And on a track like Baku, you know, staying out long, looking for a safety car might not be as unlikely as it maybe would be, I don't know, somewhere else like Monza, for example. Mind you, saying that's probably not the best example, is it? Because Monza, well, you all saw Monza. So, yeah. But, we'll see what Fabi can do from there.
Yes, and whatever happens, if it stays like this in the race, the championship will still go to Brazil, but Gil would have a massive advantage over Fabi by quite some margin. So, Fabi, he doesn't want to be there right now, but we have seen alternate strategies work well in Baku in the past, in previous seasons of PSGL. Have we seen that? We've seen Hadler get a good result last season, remember? He's currently sitting in 5th at the moment in the qualifying session. So we've got Valentines on pole, Suko, Gil, Rita, Hadler, Kazizel, Dino, Louis, Jensen and Daniel. They're your top 10. They'll be starting on the softs. And then 3 choice of tyres belong to Fabi, Azzy, Ricky, Yannick, Baraka, Curran, Recon and CC Brain. And those are your 18 drivers racing tonight. And the top 15 separated by just under a second.
So let's see what the weather's like for the race, because obviously if you're sitting P11, you're hoping that it doesn't rain now, but I'd be surprised if it does. But I don't think I've ever actually seen a wet Azerbaijan race go well anyway. So yeah, let's just see if it's dry first. The big hurdle that they've all got to get over. And
it is dry.
Is dry, yes, is dry. So that will be good news for Fabi. We've got to keep our eye on him today, because let's say he doesn't finish in the points, and suddenly if Gil wins this race, Fabi not in the points, it's championship over. So
with fastest lap. He's got to get fastest lap.
Good point, actually, yes, fastest lap. Well, no.
Because it needs to be 17 points, I think, but I'm just trying to see who would win on countback.
Yeah, but he'd win on countback because it would be his 2nd win of the season.
Yes, it would.
Fabi has done so. All I make it sound so simple, but if Fabi doesn't finish in the points and Gil wins the race, he wins the championship. But as it stands, Gil's only 3rd. But Fabi is where Gil needs him to be. And obviously, mid-pack, despite the good strategy potential, if you get caught in a mid-pack accident, obviously, we did see Fabi get caught up last week, didn't we? So he's got to make sure that doesn't happen again, as they all head off for the formation lap. And you will see that Baraka, the only person outside the top 10 going aggressive, he's on the softs. The rest of those outside the top 10 are on mediums, and obviously the top 10 are on softs.
Yeah, so different strategies, I think, for the drivers. We could see a 2-stop race, or we could see people do a soft to hard strategy, but with the high probability of safety cars, maybe starting on the softs is a good option for the likes of Baraka, who's the only one outside the top 10 do so, because when there's a safety car, you could pit quite early, but then you'll have to pit again towards the end. So I think Baraka would hope for a safety car to come around lap 7, lap 8, and that will be perfect for him. But he's got to pass through all the medium runners first. Baraka's currently sitting P4 in the championship at the moment, so 20 points behind Gil, whereas obviously Daniel is 24 points behind as well. Brock was in the fight, but obviously if Fabi has a good result tonight, same with Gil, then Brock will be out of the championship. So your standings going into this, so Gil is leading by 1 point over Fabi, 78 points to 77. And we've got Soko in 3rd on 64, Baraka 4th on 58, Daniel is 6th on 54, Risa 7th on 48, 8th Netsky on 46, 9th Haller on 45, and 10th Kazizel on 45 as well. Those are the 10 drivers, well 9 drivers here tonight, 8 drivers here tonight because Netsky's not here. these are the 8 drivers that can still mathematically win, basically take the fight to the final race, with Gil potentially winning the title tonight. The likes of CC Brain Cohen, Jensen, Louis, Recon, and Valentine, they can't win the title mathematically because they're too further back, but they can influence the titles win in many ways, especially if you have a teammate that is still in the championship fight. So keep an eye on Louis, who is Gil's teammate, and keep an eye on who's Louis' teammate tonight, Dino, who is Fabi's teammate for tonight, and look out for Recon as well to help Suko. So this should be a very good race.
Yeah, should be. And it tends to be dramatic as well, so I'm excited for this one. And now we're just waiting for all the cars to actually get to the grid. So gotta move on, people. I want to see how this turn 1 ends up going, because this should be a tight affair. And let's say you're gonna be keeping your eye on that McLaren in P11. And well, let's hope he gets through for the sake of the championship. Let's hope that he gets through this one, okay? But it is a tricky position. And let's see, where are those lights? Here we go. The lights are on. We've got Valentine on pole with Suko alongside him. And we are away in Baku. Looks like Valentine's going to hold that lead into turn 1. Recon got a bit of, or Suko got a bit of wheel spin, so he's not going to be challenging. A few side by side behind, but they're all keeping it relatively clean so far. Gil, what risks are he going to take? He's got himself nice and clear. Fabi has held on to P11 on that start, so he's seemingly getting through there cleanly enough. Still the highest of the medium runners. Baraka on softs has made a little bit of progress. Oh, and there's a car on the wall on the straight.
Ricky.
Hopefully. It looked like Ricky, but hopefully he's going to be alright. I wouldn't be surprised though if he's got a bit of front line damage. There's a few still fighting, but looks like relatively actually a clean start. And Ricky, I'm trying to tell if he's got front line damage. I'm not actually sure he does. As we see Baraka washing out wide, he's going to have Azzy on his inside, or is he going to back off? I think he will back off, the Mercedes driver, so early on in the race. And well, he hasn't got a helmet, has he? So that's that well fixed. That glitch, Codemasters. Really appreciate the £70 price tag.
Yeah, I saw there was a bit of a pile-up, I think, heading after the castle section between Azir and Yannick there as well. So they might have got damage there, but we see Cohen going side by side. So I wonder if there's a bit of end plate missing as well. Be careful, they could be 3 wide here as they head towards turn 16 as the Red Bull is trying to get P14 off of Yannick, which he does hold on to. And now he's going to go side by side with the other Mercedes. Let's see what he can do. He does have damage though.
Oh,
that
look
was
at this.
tight.
This could be so bad if they don't realise the damage that he's got, because they're trying to go 4 wide. This could provoke a safety car. That's why I'm sort of worried about this. But it looks like they're all getting through. In fact, they're all getting a tow. Oh, look at that. CC Brain cutting through and trying to make himself as big as possible, but look at them all going off at turn 1. That means they're still 3 wide effectively into the next corner, and we know what the curbs are like here. And a lot of contact. That was inevitable, wasn't it, really?
Yes.
And have been stuck into the wall, and now Cohen's banged his whole front wing off, facing backwards. Could get a virtual safety car for this, if not a full safety car, and Cohen's now left the session as well. Look out for virtual safety car or full safety car. Nothing at the minute. They might just get away with it, because they're actually still fighting just ahead. The rest of them are also sitting in line, which is why we're kind of just focusing on the back markers right now. Something that we don't actually tend to do very much. That must be one of the first times the back of the field's been that entertaining at the start of a race. No virtual or full safety cars though, so we have only just lost to 1 car.
Yes, I think people going 2 or 3 wide heading into turns 2 and 3 is not a perfect mix, and it was expected to happen, not gonna lie. So hopefully we don't get to see that again. Suko has increased the gap, well, to Gil, but he's closed the gap to Valentine by 5/10 of a second, and we're going to see the DRS coming to fruition very, very soon on lap 3. So will Suko be saving his overtake for then? He's even close to Valentine now, even without DRS, and he's going to be using his overtake now. So could we see the first overtake for the lead for today's race? We'll find out very shortly, as Valentine's going to try and cover off and hold on to P1, the position that he's been wanting so much. He's been doing very well so far. He just holds. I wonder if Suko wants the DRS onto the next straight of turns 2 and 3. I think he does, and he does get the DRS.
He's got
Valentin
him.
not with the best exit, so this could be easy pickings for the Alpine driver. Is he going to breeze past? I think he does, as Suko is now your race leader, the race winner from 2 weeks ago, and he is now your race leader here in Baku. And all of this is allowing Gil to close up to Valentin now.
This is big for Suko then. He is an outsider, it has to be said, in the championship fight, just by virtue of being 14 points away. But this is closing the gap to Gil if it finishes like this, and obviously Fabi's still outside the points. He would be sitting in a pretty handy position, so he's just got to make sure he keeps his P1 now. And, well, he could still get redemption for losing. Well, I say redemption. He could still have a chance at getting the title that he missed out on so little last season.
By 1 point.
Yeah. So maybe he can reverse it this season. But if he wins the race, that'll be a good start because it'll get the championship lead down to, what, 8 points. So it's certainly not the worst way to start this race. He'll be hoping, really, that all the action happens behind now and that the two he needs to be beating end up in trouble.
Yes, gainers throughout this race so far. Jensen's up 1 position, Baraka's up 3 with his soft tyre run, and Recon is up 4. And obviously, biggest losers, the 2 Mercedes of Azir and Yannick. Obviously, Yannick has gained a few positions, then he's dropped down to 14th. And Ricky as well, one of our new drivers, down 3 as well. And Valentin's obviously dropped 1 position due to Suko taking the lead. So even though Valentin's not doing too bad at the moment, Rito is doing a good job holding on to 4th, but with this train growing as it is, he could close in onto Gil and potentially get P3. And the more positions Gil loses, this gives a much better chance for Fabi to have the gap that he needs for Brazil. But Fabi's not gaining much either, so it's probably not helping him either way right now. But Hadler, remember, did well last season in Baku, is looking to get past these guys. I have to say these drivers at the front are driving incredibly well to keep it on the road. They have been practicing a lot for this, and I think it's strongly with the championship finale so soon, obviously next week, and with Baku being a penultimate round, that's probably why they're taking it careful, because they don't want to be out of the championship fight. Because Zizou is still in the fight as well, even though he's currently sitting near the bottom half of the order. He would need Gil and Fabi to bin it, but he still has a chance. But remember, Zizou has had very bad luck this season, with a few races where he could have won the race if the game decided to not glitch him.
Oh, Valentin's in the wall.
Oh,
Has he damaged the car? It was a big knock, but I think he might have just got away. He's off the track. I think he's going to end up having to pit with this. It might not be showing on his end plate, but he's lost a second.
Well,
How is he
Gil
through the
knows.
last 2 corners? Well, I don't know actually. He looked okay-ish in the last 2 corners, but he's going to get mugged here by 2 cars because the DRS are going to open now. Will Valentin pull into the pits? Yes. So he did damage the car, but look at Risa. Gil thought he'd take advantage, but Risa has got 2 cars in 1 go and is up into 2nd position. Risa, he certainly has picked the form up recently, 3 podiums in a row. He's trying to make it 4 now, and he's up in 2nd position.
and don't forget, one of those podiums was a race win in Mexico of 3 weeks ago. So he's been doing brilliantly as well, and he's been able to capitalise from people's mistakes. And Fabi's up to 7th place now with a few people boxing. He's got past Daniel, so he's back where he needs to be at the moment in the points. But don't forget, he's on the medium compounded tyres. Some of the drivers will be thinking in the next few laps to pit for their mandatory stop. Would it be 1 stop or would it be 2 stop? Remains to be seen, but Fabi is your leading medium runner by quite some margin over Recon at the moment. Recon is not doing very well on those mediums because he can't get past the soft runners, and we'll see the crossover point. And if Recon closes on bracket, then we know that the softs will start to die, but they seem pretty good so far. And we do have another yellow flag. That is Recon, actually.
Recon.
I did speed too soon. He's binned it in the castle section. And do I see any damage? I think he's got some damage that we probably can't see, but he did lose it there, and that is not good. He's currently sitting in 11th right now, and he probably might have Dino. Dino is catching up, actually, so I think Recon has got some sort of damage.
Let's see if Hadler can make any sort of impression on Gil, because Gil's only just holding on to DRS here on the back of Risa, and Hadler's much closer to the Williams than the Williams is to the Alfa Romeo. Hadler's pitting. Interesting. So he's making the first call here.
Cazzizzle
As
too.
is Cazzizzle. Oh, Cazzizzle so close to hitting Hadler. If anything, actually, that was the best way of getting into the pits. He maximised that entry. Baraka in as well. He's had a quiet but good first stint because of those places he made on the first lap. It might pay dividends for him later on. Especially with his undercut happening now as well. And Valentine, obviously, I think he had to change the front wing now because you can see he's lost some positions, but still, he's making some sort of undercut. He's got some clean air, so he's not fully out of this as well. Louis pitted earlier, as did Dino. They've both jumped to these two, Hadler and Cazzizzle, so that's a surprise, isn't it? But Hadler is going to try and get straight past Louis, and this is going to be tight into the twisty section of the track. Is Cazzizzle going to be able to try and take any advantage out of this? Because, oh, the contact as Louis climbs the curb. Cazzizzle does look to the inside line, and that's one of the cars that have jumped those two, and they're both through already. So Louis getting mugged a little bit there. That's going to help Valentine catch up a little bit too. But yeah, oh, is that ahead or behind? We've got yellow flags.
Sector
I don't
2.
really know where that's happened though, because there's no car off. So I'm not really too sure what went on. I'm trying to see if a car has perhaps nicked the wall and we just haven't noticed. But I can't honestly see anyone having done that, so
No.
I think we're okay. We'll see if anyone pits like, but I think we're all okay there. Jensen is passing Gill, by the way. Look at this. Down the main straight, but actually his speed's
Gill
completely
pitting?
run out.
No, he's not. Gill's
Yeah,
not
it's
pitting.
good. Jensen really has just completely lost any straight line speed there. I felt he could probably have finished that move off, but maybe he didn't fancy it. Maybe he's going to do it now, where Gill can't get him back. Let's see. DRS again.
I think this is what we saw Suko do to Valentine earlier.
Tell you what, Jess, Dino is making this work so well as Jensen moves himself up into second place now. So Jensen ahead of Gill. Dino ahead of Hadler. And I think where we stand now, since Hadler jumped Risa as well, and Cazzizzle's pulling past Risa, I think you could probably say that Dino's actually playing himself into a podium position as it stands. And then we'll see what these medium runners do when they go onto the softs later on. But Dino, yeah, he's gone completely under the radar. But this is working out very nicely for him.
And it is his first race in the F2 tier at PSGL. I believe it's his first PSGL race, and it's nice to see him doing well in his first race. And he did the undercut well as well. So we got to watch out for the ones still on soft. Have they played this wrong, or are they going to stretch this stint out to go onto the hard compounded tyres? And even then, there may be some people that might be stretching the medium stints a bit more as well. So these three could be screwed in a way as well. So what will Suku be thinking about? Because I'm sure Jensen and Gill want to be doing, giving an advantage to themselves rather than Suku at the moment, because Suku could be the main factor as into what the gap could be at the end of this race in terms of the championship. As it stands, the championship fight will go to Brazil. Fabi is going to try and get past Gill. I think we're almost certain that the softs are starting to die because Fabi's closing in on Gill at the moment. So Gill is one of the only ones that stayed out on the softs. Suka and Jensen, though, they're pitted and they are going on to a set of mediums. Well, Suka is. What is Jensen going to be doing? Is he going mediums? Yes, he is as well. So they're all committing to the two-stop. And has Gill made a mistake not pitted? Because you can see the mediums are so much faster than the softs. Fabi easily passed Gill into the braking zone, and Fabi is your race leader. But I'm just seeing where Suku's come out on all of this. Dino, he has pulled off a masterclass strategy.
He's the leader.
He's your net race leader, and the pit lane loss is around about 19 seconds. I'm just looking at the gap to leader right now. Dino's your net race leader. With Gill staying out a moment longer, it's allowing Dino just to close the gap even more and Gill to lose out even more time. So Dino has played the strategy brilliantly there.
And with Fabi's pace looking pretty good, considering he was able to breeze past Gill, he's already pulled a second on him. Like I say, he's going to be one of the fastest cars out there potentially at the end of the race. I'm guessing it's a one-stop. Maybe the mediums would have to pit for a second time, but we'll wait and see on that one. Either way, I think Fabi will be able to go soft to the end if it is a two-stop. You know, Fabi's in such a good position. McLaren are playing an absolute blinder today. That, you know, there could be 1-2 in this situation. Recon isn't even interested in fighting Dino. He's letting him go straight through. He's going to pick up some DRS just to sort of defend from Yannick, because that's who Recon's really racing. And the problem for Suko went for Hadler and for Gazizel, as you know, they're all stuck behind this. So Suko is going to have to go super aggressive, and that's what he's doing. He's going to try and fight Yannick on the main straight, and he's going to pass him as well. And you can see that Recon, that's why he let himself fall behind Dino, so that he can get the DRS to make sure he covers off Yannick. And now there's 2 cars between those two, because those guys, obviously, they're thinking about the later stage of the race. They may well be 10 seconds behind Fabi, but they'll still be one of those guys on ultimate strategy. He'll be able to take some sort of advantage later on. That's assuming, of course, there's no safety cars that get involved. We're still yet to see one of those yet. And any of these fights go wrong, you will see it. So here comes Dino, back up the inside of Recon. Sort of flirts with the overtake, can't really decide if he wants to do it or not by the looks of it. And he's letting Suko get into this because he's seemingly quicker. I mean, you would expect it because he's on newer tyres. So let's see if Dino can get through. We're only outside of the chicane now. He should now have the inside for the next section. He'll sort of crowd out Recon, and that'll let Suko through. These Alpines, no reason to fight those two because, you know, they're on different strategies. They're teammates. One of them's going for the championship. The other one obviously hasn't pitted yet, so that one was easy enough to deal with. And now Suko is in position to fight with Dino. And I tell you what, this train is so long that the fight could extend to a few more cars. In fact, Hadler's passing Yannick. Look at the contact. I said about a safety car. I've no idea how we don't have one. Yannick is thanking his lucky stars because he hit the wall so hard, but he's somehow, yeah, I don't even know if he's broke his front wing or anything. That's miraculous, to be honest, that they've survived. Hadler, though, is inside Recon, so, well, that's a lucky break, isn't it? Makes the overtake a lot easier, doesn't it? And it means he can worry about the car in front. Kazizel, though, is still fighting this and might fancy getting by the two. And Recon has actually picked up the DRS. And look at the contact from Kazizel. There's no room for Recon. He's been boxed in. Kazizel is determined to get the move done. And we've had a car in the wall. I think Yannick possibly, or he's just left the session.
He's retired in the pit lane, I think.
Well, I don't know if he'd actually made it to the pit lane, but he's out anyway. And Jensen now ahead of Recon. The guys further back are still fighting away. So, yeah, the fighting's getting quite intense. And in all that, Suko hasn't passed Dino yet. And Hadler will obviously be trying to fight his way through. But it must be said, Suko's ERS is looking really nice at the minute. So, there shouldn't be any worries there. Reset now gets by Recon, who's now letting Louis through as well. And, I was wondering where Valentine was. He's been in the pits, hasn't he? So I wonder.
I think he binned it again. I wondered that was what that yellow flag was for earlier. Was for Valentine has hit the wall. He just can't catch a break for Valentine. The only driver out of the full-timers to not score a point this season. Everyone else has managed to, even if it's a singular point so far. And the ones that have been there for the whole season, because there's been a few that have joined midway through, so of course they're not going to get any points. But meanwhile, Gil pitted a few laps ago and he's lost a chunk of time. He's down into 9th, but he's still winning that train with the likes of Louis, Rizet, Jensen, Kazizel, Hadler and Suko. But crucially, not what you want is for Fabi to be ahead, but Fabi is yet to make a stop. So Gil is still in a position to gain as many points on Fabi, but we'll see. Fabi needs to pull the gap to the rest of the field in order for Gil to not take advantage. Speaking of the other medium runners, Recon is going in then for maybe a set of the hard compounded tyres. I do see a white striped tyres going on his car. I think it is the hards. Yes, it is the hards. So he's definitely going for the one stop. Is he doing that to help his teammate? And if he is, that could be a game changer there as well. I did say watch out for the second drivers of the championship contenders tonight, and Recon is one of them. If Recon stays in this race, that can help out Suko quite a lot as well, because there could be a few medium runners that may not do the one stop and may have to pit one more time, but some of them could just about make it. But we're going to keep an eye on Fabi as well, because if Fabi can make it longer than 16 laps, then we know that the one stop is possible, but there could be some late safety cars. I'm surprised we haven't seen one, to be honest. There's been a few crashes which we thought safety car. Yannick was one of them, but we haven't saw something yet. But watch out for Fabi. and he will be the indicator on whether it's going to be a 1-stop or a 2-stop for the ones who are on the mediums, who started on softs and are on the mediums right now.
Suko then is going to pass Dino, I'd imagine now. Their ERSs have sort of leveled out though. I think Dino did a good job on the last lap just to get Suko to waste some. So perhaps Dino's now used all of his on the run down the main straight. Is it enough to keep Suko behind? I'm not sure. I don't think Dino's actually even fighting it that hard. Doesn't want to have an accident, I suppose, and so Suko's ahead. Kazizel now ahead of Hadler because those two had fallen outside the DRS zone of Suko, so I suppose Kazizel sort of feels he has to get that done. Is Dino going to fight back on Suko on the second DRS zone? Let's see as he comes through. ERS not really being used, although must be said he doesn't really have anything to use, so yeah, that is Suko then in position. In all this, they've only really gained about 2 seconds on Fabi, but I have a feeling now that Suko's at the head of the group, it'll gain a little bit quicker. But, oh, Valentine. He's retired.
Was that the same place as what Yannick where Yannick retired? It might have been.
Pit lane, I think, again, isn't it?
Oh, it might be pit lane, yeah. So there's no safety car. Much to the probably annoyance of Fabi, because Fabi probably wants a free pit stop, but...
Well, not yet he doesn't. Not yet he doesn't. Too
not
early.
yet. If he wants the softs, he doesn't want a safety car. If he wants the hards, then he wants a safety car. But...
I don't really want the hards. You're asking
it's a hard tyre to be on around here. You don't really want to be racing on hards. It's very difficult, so... Fabi wants to try and stay on the memes as long as possible. It would be nice to see the tyre wear as well, but we can't see it. But we can see the gap is dropping quite significantly because the fresher mediums have a higher delta. So still Suko, 6.4 seconds now is the gap. It was 8 seconds a moment ago. So Suko is still your net race leader. But I wonder if Dino could stop all of this. He's got DRS, but he hasn't got much ERS. He's on 3%. Suko, he's got enough to defend with, so this could be advantage Suko here into turn 1, or is Dino going to challenge him? He is not. I think Dino's going to do maybe the Nicholas Longue tactic in F1 Esports. It didn't go down too well for him, but could it work for Dino? I think he's a little bit too further back to get the move done. Again, he doesn't have enough ERS just to go for the move. He's going to go for the move anyway. Is he going to do it without overtake? He's going to try to at least on the exit, and I think he does it. Yes, he's got the move done, and he is your net race leader. Brilliant stuff from Dino. This could be a swell switcheroo for the next few laps, and look who's also in the fight, because it's all Jensen and Hadler as well. So this is a 5-way fight for the race lead.
Yeah, and you know who isn't in the fight at all? Gil. Gil is stuck behind his own teammate, which I find really bizarre.
I'm expecting the Williams driver to help him, of Louis, but he's
not.
Yeah,
well, yeah, 3.6 seconds, 3.8, nearly 4 seconds behind Hadler. You know, clearly something needs to happen here. Because it's costing Gil a chance here at getting some points. So it's gotta happen at some point. I've got to switch them. And, you know, Dino's doing the job for his teammate. Getting himself back past Suko, that is exactly what Fabi wants, because it wastes time. And it gets the rest of these guys into the fight as well. The lower down Suko is, the better this goes for Fabi. And so Dino is doing the perfect team job, while also keeping himself high up the order so that could play into their hands at the end of the race as well, if Fabi's coming through. Let's see what Suko's going to do, because he's got Kazizel all over him. He might be trying to be tactical here with Dino, but he's got to be careful that the Ferrari doesn't blast past. And that's why Suko's got to go at the inside of turn 1. Kazizel perhaps should have also been going on the inside, but decided not to. And Dino, well, is he going to do that same trick again? Suko saved his ERS this time. He saved his ERS. Is he going to use it? Dino's not using his DRS. Does he not get it? He doesn't quite get it. He wasn't there in the detection point. Lucky for Suko then. Very lucky. I don't really know why Dino didn't get it, but...
yeah, I'm a bit confused to why Dino did not get a DRS where Suko did, but there are some instances in the game where it's like that. He gives someone else a DRS over the other, but Dino is still doing a great job, and maybe Dino does not know about the championship situation. He's just concentrating on his own race, but if he's just concentrating on his own race and he's not knowing about Fabi, I don't know how he's helping him, but he's doing a great job. So I have to say, I kind of wish Dino was in a full-time driver helping his teammate out, but Obviously, Ash Beth will be back racing in Brazil as CC Brain gets past Recon as Recon in the runoff area. I've done that a few times on this game around Baku, so easy to do. And he is down into 14th place. Has he got damage? Those hards are an absolute nightmare to drive, so I don't know how he's managing it. Down in 14th place.
Here comes Dino again.
Dino on
He's surely going to go for it. He's surely going to go for it because he knows he's got the Ferrari behind him. And this time, Kazizel's got to stay close. Dino seemed very happy to race out here. And here he goes again. The DRS proving very strong indeed. And he goes up the inside of turn 1. This obviously gives Suko the chance to come back on the DRS again. So he's not too, upset about losing this position. And he will get the DRS this time. I don't know why Dino didn't get it on the last lap, because Suko didn't even get it in replacement. But just neither of them got it on this section. But now, Dino, does he defend this one this time? Because, no, Suko just didn't go for it. Suko backed off.
Even though Suko didn't have the DRS.
The gap is 4.6 now to Fabi. So Fabi still has all the free air he wants and doesn't have to worry about the pressure. And there'll be some good pockets of space for him to come out of the pits in now. So he should have plenty of free air to just push. And all of this going on at the minute is helping his calls. And his pit stop will be probably coming in the next 2 or 3 laps. So that he has enough time to get some moves done. Obviously there's no penalties to worry about. So he's got to make sure it's all done on track. Unless, of course, we see penalties get involved later on. I'd be surprised, though. Because it's not really somewhere where you'd expect people to get penalties. Unless they're really breaking the rules, and even then, the stewards would be looking at that anyway for certain corners, 15s, so yeah, I don't expect to see penalties popping up from any, especially in this leading fight. It'd be very irresponsible, wouldn't it? But let's see then. Again, for Suko, he's nearly saved, he's got 2/3 of his ERS. Dino's also been saving some of his, it has to be said, and Kazizel hasn't been saving his much. Well, let's see. What's the tactic this time? Suko on the DRS. Going up and ahead of Dino. Jensen has caught Kazizel napping, and now Kazizel's flying up the inside as Jensen is into the back of Dino almost and getting past Kazizel. I don't know how Kazizel's lost the position and all that. Just wasn't aggressive enough. Dino has DRS. Dino not quite close enough though, I don't think, unless he really wants to make a dive bomb. In fact, he's turned his DRS off. So, again, he'll just go for it on the next lap. They can see now Fabi ahead of them. And Fabi can see them. And I'm going to say he won't let them catch him. He will pit before that happens. And he'll potentially come out in P9. Hopefully ahead of Asi for his sake. But if not, it might be a bit more tricky for him. We'll see though. Risa had to pit again. We missed that one, I think. Didn't really know why that happened. Was he in an incident or something? But yeah, perhaps his podium streak might not be lasting much longer. But we'll see. 10 to go at the end of this one, and it has to be said, I don't really know where this one's going yet because of Dino's sort of aggression and willingness to fight has certainly kept this alive for his teammate. Let's see if he's going to be able to make the gap on this lap because he's a bit wide. That gap's going to be sitting at about the 8/10ths. Obviously, probably the best DRS zone of the entire season this for if you are this far back, and Dino is using a bit of the ERS to try and close in. And well, he's got enough of a run.
Here comes
if
Jensen.
He wants to. And he's got enough of a run, but as you say, Jensen is also going to get involved. Which is why I'm kind of surprised that Dino, he is going now. Dino is going now. As is Jensen. Suko could be under some pressure here. And yes, indeed, we see Fabi into the pits. So Jensen now takes that second position. And oh no! Dino's hit him. Hopefully there's no damage. Jensen lost it on the exit of 1. So Jensen, well, he'll be hoping he just gets himself ahead of Suko now. But he's not even going to do that, I don't think. Fabi on the new soft. I think he is going to get ahead of Asi as well. In fact, he'll be well clear. So, well, his task has been set then. Catch that train past him.
Yes.
So that's his big opportunity. And you know what? I can see him doing it.
He's got to do it to make sure he has less of a deficit going into the final round in Brazil. Because as it stands, obviously, Gil will be a few points clear of Fabi. Not by much, but sometimes even a little would put the one in second place at a disadvantage. So with obviously Jensen and Dino coming together, that has given Suka far less pressure now, as he's almost within a second of Jensen. Don't forget, Jensen has done very well in the past around Baku. When the Esports Cup visited this year on the F1 games, Jensen actually finished, I believe, in the top 5, top 3, I would say, there as well. So he is a driver that loves Baku, and he's looking to potentially get a win on the board for Haas. And if he nursed it home with this amount of damage, then fair play to Jensen. He's doing astonishingly well at the moment to try and catch up to Suka as well. So we'll see what he can do. He's going to have the DRS. Is he going to be close enough to get Suka into turn 1? It's a long straight, so Jensen has plenty of opportunities. He's going to go to the left, it looks like, if he wants to get the move done now. He had the DRS, but he, I think, wants to have the DRS going into turn 2, I would say, into turn 3. So he's probably going to go for the move soon. I think Dino with the same, Kazizzle, Hadler as well. I don't think Dino's going to go for it. I don't think Dino's going to go for it either. So I think they're all just going to be stuck in this train. And all of this is allowing Gil to be back in the fight for the race win. And this is not good news if you're Fabi, because Fabi wants to try and gain as many positions as possible. And with Gil trying to close in and potentially get the race win, that means Fabi's chance of winning next week could be demolished some way. But he will still have a chance. But at the moment, Gil will still be leading at the end, leading the championship at the moment. But we've seen crazy things happen in this tier, and it could swing any direction. But this is insane. It's about at the moment. Oh, and Dino has got where did he get that penalty?
Well, he got it on the way up the hill, I'd imagine. He cut perhaps the exit or even the inside of the last part of the chicane at the top of the hill. But he's lost the car as well, feeling probably the frustration of the penalty. You're saying about Gil maybe being more of an advantage now. Just because he's in the DRS doesn't mean he's going to get the overtake done, because Hadler, the car head's got way more ERS in him. So, you know, Fabi's closed 4 seconds in 2 laps on him. So, you know, he'll be there soon enough. So he's only got to pass 3 cars, and he, you know, gets the chance to lead back effectively, as Jensen gets the race lead for the first time today. And so Suko has a lot more ERS on him, and there's plenty of time in this race to go. But if they can end up in a bit more of a ding-dong thing, then that will obviously close this all up even more. Let's see. Suko, ERS, DRS. Decides he was going to just use a bit of ERS to keep up, but not enough to make an overtake. So Jensen gets to lead for Haas. His teammate led earlier on, and now it is Jensen's turn. And Fabi, how is he doing? What's his gap to leader? So it's 12.2. So that's sort of what he's got to think about right there. You know, he's getting a sort of 2 seconds a lap. You know, theoretically he could win the race, but it would require a passive one, and that's kind of the really difficult bit. So that's probably not going to happen for him. He'd be looking at getting perhaps to Kazizzle, because he knows Cena's got a penalty, so perhaps he'd be looking at the podium again. We know he's good at getting those podiums. Perhaps the wins aren't really his area, but he doesn't need them if he can keep finishing in those podium positions. And of course, if he can get ahead of Gil, that's even better. So yeah, we'll see how does he get through Louis. That's going to be the first test for him. Meanwhile, Dino's getting himself nice and close to Suko here, so you know, this could be 2 or 3 cars fighting away with Jensen this time as they head through the last sector and prepare to start lap 27 to go at the end of this lap. And still pretty tense. It's still hard to sort of predict where this is going to end up, especially if we have any sort of safety cars with that yellow flag out there. I'm not too sure what it might have been. Recon,
It was an Alpha, I think.
Might have been CC Brain then.
It probably might have been CC Brain. He was slowing a little bit. He's slowing now, actually, so it probably was CC Brain.
I don't see any damage on his car, mind you. But we don't really need to focus on that battle right now. We've got to focus on the lead, because here's Suko, 2/10 the gap, just getting himself close, but not quite close enough. Fabi on this back straight would be a bit of a desperate lunge, this, wouldn't it? If he can go for it, and he can't. So first to try getting past someone. Might just have to try and do it at the end of the sector. He'll have the grip in the tyres to pull alongside in the exit. And will he maybe try and get him into the chicane here? Fabi on the inside of Louis. Exit perhaps? Yeah, he'll get him this time. So that'll be him up into 8th place. 4-second gap to Daniel. That shouldn't be too hard to close. And then once he gets past Daniel, he'll be closing onto that train. So if he can sort of do that in the next sort of 2 or 3 laps, then let's say there's still a podium in this for him. If he can get it moving, and from 11 from the grid, wouldn't be a bad return. Looks like Dino, though, is under pressure from Kazizel. And it looks like, if anything, Dino's the one who's going to get overtaken rather than the one who's going to be doing the overtaking. So this is... I mean, Hadler has still got so much ERS as well, so Dino could end up losing 2 positions quite quickly. So that's sort of the perils of falling a little bit too far back, especially since Suka was going for the race lead again, and I wouldn't see him not being able to get that. So he's going for the race lead, and he gets it. Kazizel is going for 3rd place, and he gets it. Jensen's not going to fight back for the lead. Hadler, I'm surprised he's not thrown himself at the inside of Dino as well to try and keep up with Kazizel, but those two are still side by side as they head into turn 2, and now Hadler's got his opportunity to try and get by Dino as he heads down the back straight. Let's see. Obviously, Dino's using his DRS, of course, so it might not be easy to fight if you're Hadler, and well, he's got to use his DRS at some point, hasn't he? Or else he's going to find himself losing out, because Kazizel now, outside of DRS range, he's got to get his foot down. Obviously, those front 2 fighting away might have helped that, but they were too busy fighting themselves.
Yes, with the gap getting even closer between these guys, they just got to get a move on right now, because we can see the likes of Gil catching as well. I don't think anyone else is going to catch him unless you're maybe Fabi as well, but we don't know how, when the softs wear out for Fabi, if he's pushing too much or if he's saving a little bit until he gets to the range of Daniel. But, you know, I wonder if Dino is playing the game of damage limitation or if he'd actually go for it. He's still trying to go for it, bless him, but the penalty that he's got has definitely hurt his confidence a little bit, because he's going to drop down a little bit in positions, because hardly anyone's got penalties. Riza and Louis are the only other drivers to get a penalty. CC Brain and Recon have pitted for soft compounder tyres. They're going to be going to the end of the race, and they're probably going to try and steal away the fastest lap point from someone inside the top 10. I don't think anyone's going to challenge for anything except your Hadler, because he's got the DRS, he's got the ERS, he's got way too much ERS, but he's going to use it now anyway. You can see Dino is harvesting, so we'll see if Hadler could get the job done. Maybe not on just 1 car, but 2 cars. Dino defends. There's a little bit of a tap there, but Dino just about holds on to P4 for now. I wonder, Hadler has to fight this really, because you can see Kazizel in front. Yellow flag, that is an Alpine car. I believe that's Recon in, is it Recon?
It will be Recon, yes.
Yeah, it was Recon, yellow flag. I had a big panic attack that it was his teammate, but it is not his teammate. So, panic over, but the gap's still 5 tenths to Jensen and Suko, so we still could have a fight for the win. We could still have a fight for 3rd place with Hadler in this as well, and a fight for 2nd as well. And all of this could decide as well, with Gil catching, it could decide what the gap is going into the championship, and for some of them, it could decide whether they're in the championship fight. Like I said earlier, as long as you're 17 points or lower behind the championship leader, whether it's going to be Fabi or Gil, then you'll be still in the championship hunt going into Brazil. So Baraka, as it stands, will be eliminated. Suko, I think, will still be in the fight, because obviously he's leading.
Yeah, Suko's the massive gainer today, and you know what? He might just be able to make this 1 second gap. Let's see, because if he can, that would be a massive deal. It's going to be tight, this, though. I think Jensen will just about keep it in. He will. So, yeah, Suko was nearly home and dry there, but has to keep defending. But if he wins the race, he's gaining a huge amount of points. He's gaining, what, 10 points? Something like that. So, it's a big deal, this. But look at this. We've got 3 wide now for 3rd place. And Hadler, finally, looks like he's got some moves done. And this is his chance to get back in. Of course, he's used his ERS to do all that, though. So all that saving he's done, well, you could argue he sort of didn't ever really take advantage of it in the end. But Dino now defending aggressively to Kazizel. Will Kazizel be able to fight him back? Or will Dino just be able to hold his gap thanks to the DRS? He will. Fabi's pace to the leader, it's sort of the same pace as the leaders now. and he's struggling to get by Daniel, so he is going to lose out a little bit, and he might find himself definitely in the freeway fight for the championship still, but not really in a position he would be happy with. But yeah, still a few laps to go, of course. This could still go a bit wrong at the front if the fight for the lead gets a bit too messy. I have a feeling you'll probably see a little bit of tactical... oh, look at that, front wing everywhere. Good for me simulation damage. Good for me simulation damage, or else that would have been punctured. But yeah, I think you've got the tactical... is someone going to let the other through so that they can DRS them on the last lap? Is it a risky strategy to try? I think we saw this happen in Bahrain, where it was all about who had the DRS on the final lap. So Jensen and Suko, the tactical mind games might be starting in a minute, and if that goes a bit wrong, that could also affect the championship. But here's Jensen then, closing and closing, not using ERS, because he's really got to save this now, because Suko has got more than him. So he's got to make sure that he stays in the ballpark as Cazzizzle goes past Dino, and Dino fights him back. That was pretty easy. Do you know what? That was an overtake under yellow flags, which is really unfair because that yellow flag was in the pit lane, of course, and that's why Cazzizzle let him straight back through, I think. And now Cazzizzle's going to pass him again.
There's Gil.
Because he's going through, and Gil, he's not going to be risking that into there. But Dino, he has the oldest tyres here because of his undercut, remember? So that might affect him a little bit in the closing stages. Gil has the best tyres out of the leading group, but he's not really anywhere near that lead anymore. So his best result at this stage might end up being possibly 4th. So we'll see if he can get that. Fabi still in DRS of Daniel, but not really able to pass at the minute. Perhaps he's waiting for the last lap so he can do that. But oh no! Front wing gone, Cazzizzle. So that'll be one extra place for Gil and for Fabi, and Cazzizzle. Well, that's going to be very frustrating. He's got to make sure he doesn't end up putting it in the wall now, again, because that could affect Dino. It could affect Gil. Gil will have saw that front wing flying off. He's not going to risk anything here because this last sector is going to be very treacherous indeed. Because Cazzizzle is going to understeer like mad. And if Dino goes side by side, I would really not recommend this. It could end up in a quite nasty accident. So Cazzizzle, you can see his struggles as he heads through the final sector. Luckily, hasn't hit the wall again. And that'll be Dino going through. It'll be Gil going through. Jensen isn't going for the lead as of yet, I don't think. Cazzizzle's staying out with that front wing damage. That is an interesting fate to do. I suppose you might as well stay and just hope that you can get points. I think you probably would get points, but it just depends if you can keep it all on the road.
He will be eliminated from the championship fight. Well, he would be anyway because he was out of the runners. They're still mathematically in. He was about. I was just looking at. He was about 33 points back, so he would have needed everyone else to have a rubbish race. But yeah, Cazzizzle would be eliminated from the fight, but. That means Gil, I think, we'll keep an eye on the gaps as it continues anyway, in relation to Gil, Fabi and Suko, because those three will be fighting it in Brazil as it stands. But Jensen will want to stop Suko getting another win and take a win on, I think I'll have to say, Jensen's favourite track, looking at this, because most of the races I've seen him do well in is in Baku, but he may be saving his pace to the last minute. Haller, don't forget, won last season. He could be on for a nice podium as well. It'd be nice if we could speak to him as well. Gil's within 6 tenths of Fabi now. I'm just looking at the gap between Fabi and Daniel.
Look at this. Because, do you know what? Suko is going suspiciously slowly here. You know, it's almost like he wants Jensen to pass him. Oh yeah, look at this. This is very interesting tactical messing about that these two are going to be doing. Suko very happy to let Jensen get close. And Jensen, what's he going to do about this as he closes in? Well, straight through. Simple as that. Suko, what's he going to do in response to this? Because he's surely going to do something. Unless he made a mistake out of last quarter, but it looked to me as Gil, who's up to 4th place, would have got that anyway. And like I say, it looked to me like Suko was happy to let that happen. Although, looking at his ERS, perhaps he made a mistake. I'd be surprised if he made a mistake because it gives him the upper hand this now to try and go for this at the end of the race.
Whoa, is he going to go for it?
Not going for it, so it's interesting. Right, let's see. What is Suku's game plan? Because I thought he would let him through intentionally. It looked like that was what was happening, but judging by the ERS usage, perhaps he used a bit too much there, and Jensen's actually sort of similarly level to him, where before he was less ERS. So, yeah, we'll see what Suku does. Because if he throws away a victory here today, I think he'd be quite disappointed in himself, and it could really cost him a run at the championship as well. But let's see, as he heads through the castle section, staying close. Jensen now is putting the brakes on. Is he going to try and get Suku back in front of him so he can nick the DRS? We could end up saying this with both of these guys are just putting the brakes on and trying to see who fancies DRS.
No, repeat brake checking.
Or will Jensen just blast down the road and Suku will be like, oh, I thought you were going to slow down. Let's see. Jensen appears to be doing the blast down the road tactic, and Suku is going to put the ERS on. So is Jensen.
Kazizzle's out of the race.
Fabi's got through then. That's important. He might also get Daniel. We'll keep our eye on this one. But here comes Suku. Was letting Jensen go so easily a bad idea? I'd say yes, because he's going to get close, but not close enough. Jensen winning in Baku then. And, well, I think Suku's going to find himself quite disappointed by this. Hadler comes home in P3. Gil in 4th position. And Dino won't lose any positions. He stays in 5th. Fabi, he got close, but not close enough to Daniels there, 6th and 7th. Risa will come home 8th. And Louis has had some sort of incident. Not too sure what's going on here, because he's throwing away points for no reason. Azzy is fighting still though with Ricky. They haven't got any penalties, and Ricky, with the oldest tyres in the field, comes home P9, and Azzy gets the last point. I mean, I don't see a puncture or anything on Louis, as he just had some sort of fuel. He's run out of fuel. That's what will have happened. He's run out of fuel.
That explains it then.
Slow end to his race then. And Baraka, he's going for the fastest lap, I'd assume, being on new softs, but it must be said, I don't really think that's going to be enough to make him feel any better about how today's ended up going in the end. 47 seconds away from the nearest car. Championship over. Shame, really, because he had the pace to win the title this season. Perhaps he'll still earn himself a promotion to F1 next year. But for now, Baraka, can he settle himself for a fastest lap? Yes, he can. So he gets something out of today. But it's Jensen. Haas have won a race.
And it's taken, 14 races for Haas to get on the podium? And I have to say, I was hoping it would be Valentin to get his first points today after getting pole, but Jensen did the job without Valentin being there, and Jensen got driver of the day as well. Where did Jensen start the race? I think he started quite low, so he had a weak qualifying, but a very strong race, but he loves the race pace around this track as well. And with Suku getting second place, he's still in the championship fight. And looking at the gaps going into Brazil then, Gil's got a 5-point lead over Fabi. And between Gil and Suku is 10 points. So it's between Gil, Fabi and Suku next week in Brazil as to who wins the F2 championship. Everybody else, they can't catch up to them, unfortunately. They are eliminated, but it's down to those three to see who can claim the top spot. So this is going to be very exciting heading into next week.
Yeah, this is going to be quite unpredictable. Unfortunately, of course, I'm not going to be here because work have decided that I have to work on Mondays, even though I told them I couldn't because I was doing this. So apologies for that, viewers, but I'll be back next season. Me and Jess, I'm sure, will still be around in this commentary box. I just will miss the finale, which is really annoying. But still, should I predict who's going to win the title? I'd say Gil, just because I've seen him do it before. I know he can do it. Others possibly not, and I reckon he's done it in Brazil. He won it in Brazil in very dramatic fashion, the F1 Championship. He's going to have to try and do it again next week, and well, when I watch the race back, that's sort of what I'm expecting to see. But look, we'll see. We'll see.
Yes, and we've just been through your order then, as we've had only a few retirements today, so that's great to see. But a few drivers who I felt could have done better. Risa, unfortunately, ended his championship podium streak, and he got P8, but still he's got points, so now he's going on to a point streak, I have to say, as we're waiting to see if anyone particularly Jensen, would like to speak to us in the interview room. And if he does not, that'll be fine. But final round in Brazil, I'm going to make a prediction as well. I think Gil's got the momentum, I would say, from round 10. I think actually from round 8, apart from Portugal where he had the DNF, he's had P2, a P1, a P2, a P3, a P3 and a P4. So he has never gone outside the top 6 all season, apart from a few DNFs in Bahrain, Belgium, Great Britain, opposite, and Portugal. So the odds are in his favour, but don't count out Fabi. We could see him, like Xander, also known as Ballina, did last season, win the championship, but not get a win. But Fabi will need to outscore Gil by 5 points. Suka will need to outscore Fabi by 5 and Gil by 10 in order to secure the title. But strange things have happened. We saw that last season in Brazil. We saw an unlikely winner again. We may see an unlikely winner again next week as well. But it should be interesting. Unfortunately, Owen, you can't join us next week. But I'm sure you'll be excited for next season. We'll also see who will be in F1 next season and who's gonna be racing in F2, who we get to commentate as well. So I wonder who's gonna win the constructors as well. That's gonna be my question. But with Mercedes not being here, I think it could be Aston Martin. We don't know. It is wide open. But any final words before we wrap up?
Well, just want to say thanks for having me again this season. It has been a pleasure and good race tonight as well. Do you know, we've waited a while to see a race where people just fight every lap. Because we often say, oh, they're waiting right till the end. But actually, in fairness, they went from that right from after the pit stop. So that was a very entertaining race to go with. Like I say, I will be back next season, unless Connor decides he's going to sack me. But I don't think he couldn't sack me for a second time. That would be just really offensive. So I've already been sacked from F1, so don't sack me from here. I like it here. So cheers for having me.
You're
Good
welcome.
luck next week, Jess.
Yeah, hopefully the drivers will be racing well next week around Brazil, and hopefully all of you guys will be tuning in next week to watch it. There's still the F1 tier at the moment, even though their championship has been decided. They're still racing around Baku at the moment, and we get to see if anyone will pull off some surprise victories as well. And we also got F4, which are in the middle of their race, and also F6 and F7 racing as well. So make sure you tune into those. For myself, Jess Games 95 and Owen White, we will see you. Well, I will see you next week. I don't know who's joining me in the commentary box next week. We haven't sorted that out yet. It might be just me. It may be a reserve joining me. We don't know. But all you'll know is there's going to be a race next week regardless. So we will see you next week for the final round of the championship, a three-way fight. Who's going to win? Is it going to be Gil, Fabi, or is it going to be Suko? Suko's the outsider, but don't count him out. See you next week. Have a good night and enjoy the F1 stream. Goodbye.